Hello, so today I'm going to do the math wall a little bit different and probably like this moving on so that you can see the screen much better. So I'm using the same boards as I had done before, but now you can get a little closer up view. So with the number of the day, we have the number 36. And so for 36, how many tens do we have? 3 tens. And how many ones do we have? 6 ones. Is our number odd or even? So to figure that out, we're going to group these into pairs. Every number has a pair, so the number is even. We're going to keep working with the number 36 moving forward. So remembering the number 36, I'm going to get our next chart. And in the number 36, how many hundreds do we have? 0 hundreds. So we're going to put an X. How many tens do we have in the number 36? 3 tens. And how many ones do we have in the number 36? 6 ones. So now, after this one, we're going into our expanded form using the same number, 36. So with this one, we're just going to look real quick at this. 3 tens. What does 3 tens equal? So let's count by tens. 10, 10, 20, 30. 3 tens is the same as 30. So we're going to put 30 plus the amount of ones we have. And we have 6 ones. So what does 30 plus 6 equal? 36. On our next chart, we have 36. I also have my 120 chart available if needed. So I am going to circle 36 on here. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see. We have our minus 10 plus 10 plus 1 minus 1. So on the 36, we said we have 3 tens. We're going to take one of those tens away, and now we have how many tens? 2 tens. So we have 2 tens, and the ones stay the same. So 36 minus 10 equals 26. Now we have 36, and we have 3 tens and 36. We're going to add another 10. So how many tens do we now have? 4 tens. And the ones stay the same because we're only dealing with the tens. So 36 plus 10 more equals 46. Notice when we're doing the tens, only the 10 spot changes, but the ones stay the same. So now we're going to move to the ones spot. Plus 1 and minus 1. So 36 minus 1. So we're going to see how many ones we have. And we have 6 ones. We're going to take one of those away. How many ones do we have left? 5 ones. So we keep the tens the same, the 3 in the 10 spot for 30. And we're changing the 6 ones to 5 ones. 36 minus 1 is 35. Now we have 36 plus 1. So like we said before, in 36 we had 6 ones. So I have my 6 ones. And now I'm going to add another 1. So now I have how many ones? 7 ones. So I could put the 7, and then the 10 stay the same. Moving on to our next chart, we're going into missing number. So once again, I'm still working on those 10 facts just to get used to it. And if you need to, use your hands. And on here it says 2, so we have 10 fingers. We want to get to 10. We know that we have 2, so we're going to take those 2 away to see how many more we need to get to. And we need how many more to get to 10? 2 plus 8 equals 10. Now see if you can do the rest. And then blank plus 3 equals 10. We should have 7. And 4 plus blank equals 10. And your answer is 6. All right, moving on to balance both sides. So on this one, we're trying to find equations that are equal to each other. So we're trying to make sure that they're equal and true. So first we have to figure out, what does 2 plus 4 equal? So 2 plus 4 more equals 6. And then you have to decide of another way that you would like to show 6. So I'm actually going to do the reversal. I'm just going to switch the 2 spots. 4 plus 2 equals 6. So I'm doing the reversal because I said last week I want to do some more extra practice with that reversal so you understand it doesn't matter when you're adding where the number goes, if it's first or second. Moving on to fact family. So here we have 19, 9, and 10. So we have the whole number and part. So we add the parts to get to the whole. The two smaller numbers get to the bigger number. So we're 9 plus 10 equals 19. What would be the next equation? See if you can write it now. And it would be the reversal. 10 plus 9 equals 19. Then on the next one, we have the subtraction. So when we do subtraction, we always start with the whole number or the larger number. So 19, 9, and 10. 19 is the larger, so we're going to do that one. 19. We're going to subtract one of the parts or one of the smaller numbers. I'm going to choose the 9 first. 19 minus 9 equals 10. And then on the next one, 19 minus 10 equals 9. Now moving on to whole, part. So we have 18. The goal is for the next couple weeks is to work on breaking into groups of 10 and the ones left over. So we have 18. Well, how would we break this into? 10. And then how many ones would be left over? 8 ones. So when we do the adding, we take the two part numbers and we're putting them into our equation for adding. When we're doing subtraction, we're taking one of our whole numbers and taking away one of the parts to find the other part. So I always like to start the plus, so I'm doing my 10 plus my 8 equals my whole number 18. Then for my subtraction, I'm doing 18 minus 10 equals 8. You could have done 18 minus 8 equals 10, that's fine. Now we have our greater than, less than, and equal. So what I tell my students, touch the tens. In 23 we have 2 tens. In 32 we have 3 tens. So which is greater, 2 tens or 3 tens? The 3 tens. The way we read this, 32 is less than, 23 is less than 32. Now we have 18 and 19, so touch the tens. They both have 1 10, so then we jump to the ones. We go back a spot. We have 9 ones and 8 ones. Which is the greater number? Which is the bigger number? The 9. So we would say 19 is greater than 18. Moving on, we have 47, 43, so touch the tens. And they are the same, so we jump to the ones. We have 7 ones in 47 and 3 ones in 43. Which one is greater? The 47, the 7 ones is greater. So the way we would read this is 47 is greater than 43. And we're going to put our numbers in order. So like I've done on my other videos, was I get my hundreds and 20 chart out if needed. And I'm going to circle the numbers. So I have 13, number 2, 23, and 15. So on my chart, I notice if I put my finger forward, I hit the what first? The 2. Always write and X out as you go. Just a good test-taking strategy. Next, I put my finger on, and I get to the 13. Then keep moving, and I get to the 15. And then I just follow through just to double check myself to make sure I have it correct. And I have 23. Okay. And moving on to our clock. Okay. So, what we notice, we always look for the hour hand. And the hour hand is the smaller one. So what is the hour hand pointing to? The 9. So we're going to go with the hour hand pointing at the 9. Then, what do we call the longer hand? The minute one. And when the minute hand is pointing at the 12, what are we going to write? O'clock. So the time would read 9 o'clock. Okay, some of my fractions like that. So we'll start with the circle today. And for the circle, it says how many pieces. Our bottom piece tells us how much to cut it into. Our top tells us how much to color it. So we want to cut it into 4 equal quarters, 4 quarters. And then we want to color in how many of the quarters? 3 quarters. 1, 2, 3. So we colored in 3/4 or 3/4 of the circle. Let's go to our rectangle, and we are going to cut it into how many pieces? 2 halves, or 2 equal pieces, 2 halves. And we're going to color in 1 of those halves, so 1/2. So now we've colored in 1/2 of the rectangle. Then we'll move into our data chart. So on our chart, we have, maybe where's it least you can see. Okay, so on our chart we have shapes, and like I've said before, I always like to go up and just kind of underline the spot where the bar graph would end at. And then I like to put the number on. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 circles, 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles, and if we come over and across, we have 6 squares. So we can come back and forth to this as we do the questions. So on our first chart, we have how many more circles than squares? How many more circles than squares? So before we put any of the numbers down, we have to first decide, are we adding or subtracting? And we are going to subtract. What's telling us to subtract? The more than, because that's telling us that we are going to compare and find the difference between 2 of the numbers. So for circle and square, we look at our chart when we're subtracting, the bigger one goes first. So which one goes first? The circles or the squares? Circle. 7 minus 6. 7 minus 6. So 7 circles minus the 6 squares to find out how many more circles there are. So solve. And the answer is 1 more. Now we have to say which has more, circles or triangles. So let's get our chart again. And from looking at it, we have 7 circles, 8 triangles. So which one of those has more? And if you were saying the circle. Now, once again, we have to decide, are we adding or are we subtracting? And we are what? Are we going to be putting them together or taking some away and finding the difference? And we should be subtracting because we see the more, and comparing tells us or. We're comparing between those two. So we're putting that subtraction. We already know the circle is the bigger number, and we said circles are 7, and our triangles are 4. So what is 7 minus 4? Solve. And the answer is 3. 3 more circles than triangles. And on our last chart, we have how many fewer triangles than squares. So those triangles than squares. So once again, we have to figure out, are we adding or subtracting? Are we putting more together or finding the difference and taking away? Well, we are going to subtract, and the words that tell us that are fewer and that than again. We're comparing to find the difference. So before we can write our equation, we need to decide, are there more triangles or are there more squares? And we see 4 triangles, 6 squares. Which one would go first? The 6 squares. 6 minus the 4 triangles. So solve that. 6 minus 4 equals go. And the answer would be 2. Now it says how many triangles and squares? How many triangles and squares? So what are we doing? Are we adding, putting them together, or subtracting and finding the difference? Well, because it says and, I know that we're going to put them together. We're going to take a group of triangles and a group of squares and see how many there are. So we're going to plus. So we're going to start with that triangle. How many triangles? 4. And how many squares? 6. What is 4 plus 6? Solve. And the answer is 10. It's a 10 fact. And then on the last problem it says how many in all on the chart. So are we adding or subtracting? We are going to be adding. That in all tells us we want to put all of them together. So let's look at our chart. We have 7 circles, 4 triangles, and 6 squares, and we're going to add those together. 7 plus 4 plus 6, and solve. You notice this was a 10 fact, and we bring everything down. And if you got 17, you could do it 2 ways. Alright, that is all of our math for today, for Monday, week 28, and I hope to see you back tomorrow. Thank you.